Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello and welcome back to the At the Show podcast. We are back. We took a week off last week due to some technical issues, but we are back this week with a nice little packed show that we had planned, dealing with our worst, in our opinion, baseball movies. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm with my other co-host, Tony Chalsa. Bert, how you doing, my man?
I am doing great, and I'm excited for this episode. I feel like I've been waiting in the bullpen for 2 weeks, and I've just got lots of stuff, lots of cool stuff, and I'm excited to talk about it.
As am I, my friend. As am I. Baseball season is here, and although the season just started off pretty crappy for the White Sox, but they actually won 2 series in a row recently, and they actually look pretty good during this past 2 weeks of playing baseball. So as long as they're respectably losing, I don't care. Then again, I love baseball, so if they're really bad, I mean, it doesn't really matter. And then the North side is actually, they're on a slump right now, but they have actually had a pretty good start to the season. So, it's always, baseball's always fun in the summer, North side, South side. Whichever team you root for, it's always been a big passion of mine. I know for you as well, you're a huge baseball guy. So I played baseball my whole life, so watching it has always been, even if they're bad or good, I just constantly consume baseball. So I love the fact we're talking about movies related to baseball today.
Yeah, and honestly, I've always said to lots of friends is that I go to any stadium, I'll watch any 2 teams play, and I'll enjoy it. We got our teams, but baseball is just, man, so awesome. I'm very passionate about that, as I am about movies and music. So it's exciting to mix them all up here tonight.
Yes, sir. But let's get into our normal swing of things, Mr. Burt, and go into what we've been watching.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
So what you been watching this week, my man?
Ooh, I dig back into a couple what I would deem pretty late, not late 80s all around classics. And the first one is called Cutter's Way, and it stars Jeff Bridges, and I like to call him Home Alone Dad, but his real name is John Hurd. And before I go into the movie, here's a little bit of a clip.
Rich, I'm fucking starved.
So you pick out somebody to blackmail him?
I didn't pick him out, you did.
It is a neo-noir type of thriller, okay? And what it pretty much is it's a pair of friends, and they are pretty much trying to solve a crime that has gone on in town. But what is really awesome is the performances of both Bridges and John Hurd. Again, a lot of... the reason I even fell into this movie is that I'm somebody who, for a long time, I would go to let's say IMDb, look up Jeff Bridges, and then just start going down his list and trying to find movies. And when I saw a movie called Cutter's Way, and then John Hurd, and as you can see with the clip, the real reason I'm playing it is him with the eye patch. It adds to the movie. There's a lot of awesome dialogue, but it's definitely one that... what I was going for tonight was some deep cuts that I wanted to bring to the forefront. Have you ever heard of this movie, Yump?
No, I have not. And man, John Hurd, I'm looking at the pictures right now, is super young in this.
Oh, yeah.
Also long hair. He usually has the short hair.
He does.
It's kind of crazy. There's a film, I can't remember it off the top of my head, where he actually plays like a psychopath. he has I think it's Julia Roberts or Gina Davis is in it, where she plays
I know
his
what you're
wife,
talking about. It
and
is,
like
it's, actually, it's Goldie Hawn, and it's called well, he did in this movie, you might be talking
mhm,
about a different
mhm.
movie, but it's called Deceived, and, he plays a couple at least the movie I'm thinking of, I'm looking at it right now from 1992, but he's also in Chud. You ever see Chud? Ch
Yeah,
Cannibalistic humanoid, underground dwellers, but,
yeah.
John Hurt, though, I like to always just I remember in 8th grade, we would just say his name a lot because it was hilarious. John Hurt, John Hurt, John Hurt. So, seeing Jeff Bridges and John Hurt, that's what brought me to this movie. I hurried up and I think I ordered it on Amazon, and I still own the DVD, and it's definitely one that if you like awesome movies with that are deep cuts,
Mhm.
definitely I think you would enjoy this movie quite a bit.
Definitely,
And
I will check it out.
yeah, and my second pick, which I definitely know you definitely would love to hear your reviews of this movie if you've never seen it. This movie is called The Wraith. And this movie stars Charlie Sheen, Sherilyn Finn, Randy Quaid, and Nick Cassavetes. Sherilyn Flynn was great in Fatal Instinct, which was a great spoof with Armand Asante. But that being said, before we dig into this really quick, here's a quick little clip. Now, what I love about this movie is that for me, when I seen it, this was a movie that was brought to me by my dad. He liked hot rods. So this movie is loaded with awesome, awesome hot rods. And there's a lot of cool race scenes. And the way it's filmed, it says it's independently filmed. I've watched this movie quite a lot. It does not give me those vibes. It gives me vibes that it was probably was a theatrical release. Um, but Charlie Sheen, Nick Cassavetes, and pretty much what it is which is great, is I didn't know until seeing this movie. A wraith is pretty much a ghost, but pretty much there is a murder, and pretty much this ghost comes back in an awesome, amazing Dodge car that was only created for this movie, and he keeps offing the people in this racing gang that killed the original person, but definitely awesome. If you like awesome 80s, and Randy Quaid could not be more serious in this movie than I've ever seen. So all around, great 80s ridiculousness, my friend.
Nice, nice. That Wraith definitely does look awesome 80s.
Oh, it's the quotes and the bad guy right there that you saw at the end of the clip. Nick Cassavetes, his dad is the
Mm,
famous film director John Cassavetes, but Nick
mm,
himself has directed everything from Alpha Dog to The
mhm.
Notebook. So um, it's cool to see him as a bad guy in this movie, and it's also really cool to see Charlie Sheen again. This is even before Men at Work Charlie Sheen. So very, very, very cool to look back and check out, and that's what I like to do sometimes.
Man, good choices there, man. It looks like I went a little not really 80s, I guess I would say, but I went back and I was looking at films that I haven't seen in a while. And, you know, I'm a sucker for Christian Slater. Like, I like Christian Slater films. I know we laugh about Untamed Heart a lot, me and you, but, Christian Slater used to be like the big it guy. And back in the day, we first saw him in The Wizard, and then he was in Mobsters, which is not a great mob film, but he's in there. And then he kind of his own little vehicles for films, and one of them was 1992's Cuffs. Have you ever seen this movie, Tom? Before I go into it,
Oh yes, I have. We'll get to it when you're done. Great movie.
so yeah, so Cuffs. Basically, the whole synopsis of the film is he's kind of a 22-year-old kid, and he's doesn't know what he's doing with his life. He basically gets a girl pregnant, who's played by young Mila Djokovic, who you might know from the Resident Evil films. She's also in The Fifth Element. Uh, but he gets her pregnant and he doesn't know what to do, so he leaves and he tries to go get money from his brother, who's actually owns a police district in San Francisco. And before it explains in the film that before, the citizens used to actually own police districts, and they would protect and serve, and they would get paid a fee by that district. And his brother owns one, And long story short, his brother dies. He takes over, and it's like a bunch of like silliness like engulfs in it. There's a lot of like funny little scenes in it. It's not the greatest film, but it's like kind of gets those uh Beverly Hills Cop vibes for me. It has a theme that is similar to Beverly Hills Cop that I think they have. It's a lot of breaking the fourth wall with him speaking to the camera. It's just to me, it's one of those 90s films that was always stuck with me, and I happen to rewatch it, and it still gives me a little chuckle here and there. So what'd you think about it, Tom?
Well, Christian Slater's late 80s run is something to behold. Big fan of Cuffs, big fan of Pump Up the Volume, big fan of Gleaming the Cube, even a big fan of things like, what is it, Very Bad Things.
Mhm.
Just a Christian Slater. I liked Mr. Robot. It was on USA,
Mhm.
great show. But Tony Goldwyn, who's in this movie too, real quick, he's been putting on a really good turn. He's the new district attorney of Law and Order, a really ridiculous role. But Cuffs is great, and it was a good pick. So when you told me you picked it, I went back and rewatched it again, and it's just fun. It's fun all around 80. Back to just the 92, but it still feels like it's like in the early 80s, it still kind of felt like a little bit of the late 70s and the early 90s. There's still movies that feels like we're in the 80s or we're getting into the 90s, and
Yeah.
real good movie, man. My dad always used to think that Christian Slater reminded him a lot of like a young Jack Nicholson, which I every time I see these movies or even him in this photo on the thing with that little smirk, I can see it a little bit. So
So it's funny you say that because his like the summary of his career, his trajectory was always compared to Jack. And it got to the point where it was parodied in like shows like there's a show called, I'm pretty sure you've seen it, The Critic with Jay Sherman,
mhm.
John Lovitz.
Sure.
And there's a he does a Few Good Men Part 2, and it's with Christian Slater and him and Jack Nicholson, and he's telling Jack Nicholson in a Jack Nicholson voice, "I want the truth," and Jack Nicholson says, "You can't handle the truth. The truth is you'd act with all my mannerisms," and it just goes into, like, him making fun of the whole thing, but that's what was thought of at the time, like, Christian Slater was just like Jack, but it's kinda cool that he got kind of a career resurgence, he was in Young Guns too, kinda had a fall off into those B movies, like the direct-to-video movies, and then he got a career resurgence when he had the, TV show when he was a secret agent, and now Mr. Robot kind of, propelled him up again, which is good for him.
It is. Recently there's a movie on, I think it was HBO, Jimmy Hollywood. It's him and
Mm.
Pesci, which again, wouldn't think the teaming of a Christian Slater and a Joe Pesci, but that's where he was in his career, teaming with everybody.
Yeah, and Sam says he was great in Archer and also a cameo, Emmy caliber cameo in The Office. Uh,
Very
but the second film I watched is a newer film called Late Night with the Devil, and I don't want to spoil too much with this film. Comic Punk guy actually wrote a great little blog about it on our website, sadisticpenguinstudios.com. Basically, this film is set in the 70s, late 70s. It has the Tonight Show vibe to it. It's shot from more of a outside point looking in. So you're seeing not really lost tapes, but unaired footage. So you see the show and behind the scenes, which I thought was shot very well. It stars David Dastmalchian. I think that's how you say his name.
Mhm.
You might see him from like he was in The Dark Knight, he was in this newer Suicide Squad, uh,
Prisoners. Good man.
Prisoners. Yes, very very good character actor. Also, DePaul graduate, and big. The funny thing is in this film that he mentions him being from Berwyn, Illinois. He's not from Illinois. He lived here. And thank you, Sam. I as we know, I'm horrible with names and pronouncings. But yeah, it's a great film. Basically, he's a struggling TV host who needs to push up ratings, and he knows somebody who apparently has been possessed, and they bring her on the set. It's not really a scary film per se, as in the normal Exorcist, like spin the head, puke kind of thing. It's more of a creepy vibe. There's a lot of imaging that's creepy. A lot of taking you outside the box, kind of creepy. I really enjoyed it because it was something different. I'm a big person that looks for different things in horror. Like, there's only so many times you can do a slasher, so many times you can do an exorcism or possession type of film, and I think this film actually does it in a different, like, kind of way. It's, shown by a that well known, company, and the beginning of the film, I'll let you know if you guys have ever seen that Family Guy skit where he's trying to see the film and they have all these previews and he thinks it's the film, but it's actually just, the movie companies. That it's how I felt watching this at the start because it was just all these film, like, companies showing their, their intros to their company, and it wasn't the film. But it was actually a really good film, I thought. I highly recommend you see it. It's on Amazon Prime if you can see it. It's on Shudder for free. Uh, just a different type of horror. I really enjoyed it. I love the way it was shot. I love the way it was plays out. Doesn't need a sequel, I don't think, but it just makes me look forward to like the future of horror. They kind of go down this way of doing things differently. Did you have a chance to see this?
I sure did, and was, as you stated, a good movie, very good movie. Couple things. Number one, I really like the poster here that I picked. I like the whole campaign. Um, I thought it was stupid. You may disagree, but I thought there was some blowback about some kind of things in the movie that some people said were AI generated. I don't know if you remember this. And to me, I don't think anything like that would take away from the movie here. But I could be different for other people in that feeling. But
Yeah,
you know,
I from what I've read, they only those there was 4 images and only I think 2 of them were in the film for like but they edited it out and it was like a 1-second thing. So I can understand in terms of artistry
oh yeah.
how but I don't know. I
Let's
have no
just say
really
that the
opinion on
movie
it.
would be unwatchable because of that, because
Yeah, I
2
don't think that
images that
that
were AI
mm,
generated somehow. But
yeah, I
again,
mean, I if that's your thing, then I mean, good power to you, but it didn't really affect me to instant to where
well,
I
that's
wanted
what
to see it.
that's what I liked about your review is that, and that's what I think it should be, is that that's just a little piece, and altogether, the movie is definitely worth seeing. Very awesome. And his performance is, it's definitely, I would think, in the horror genre, one of the best of the last year.
Yeah, and I really liked, Rhys O'Teary, his, guy Gus,
Mhm.
his performance, his sidekick, it was just a total like, it reminded me of the old school, like, TV shows like, Letterman, and, of course, it's him competing against Carson, it's around that time, and Carson's mentioned a lot, but it reminds you, like, the stuff that I grew up on watching because there was so many TV like, late night TV shows. Now there really isn't, like, the predominant besides Colbert and, Fallon. But, back then there was so many like Letterman, and then you had Craig Kilborn, and then you had, Leno, and then you had, Conan O'Brien, all those shows were all into one thing, and then you had George Lopez somehow get into the game. So it's just crazy that it kind of brought me back to them, but I think it's shot very well. So if you guys haven't seen it, you wanna see a new different of horror, check it out. Also, if you're thinking about interesting in, watching it, read Comic Punk Guy's, blog. He did a really good job of breaking it down, without spoilers. He's a real big fan of this movie. He says he watches it, like, every other day. Uh, so check it out if you get a chance. But that's what we've been watching. Let us know what you've been watching over at the show pod on the Twitters. Uh, are you ready to get into these baseball movies, my friend?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's get into our first one here with this.
Hello, son. I'm looking for Henry Ruhlenfurter. Reifenboozer. Rosenberger. Tardenhoser. Hey, way to go, Runnermucker. Ruhlenbruder. Come on.
1993's Rookie of the Year, directed by Daniel Stern, in his only film directorial film. It starred in films such as Home Alone 1 and 2, City Slickers 1 and 2, Celtic Pride, My Blue Heaven. He's also the voiceover for the original Wonder Years, which many people really don't know. The film stars Thomas Ian Nichols, Gary Busey, Dan Hedaya, John Candy, Daniel Stern, Amy Morton, and Bruce Altman. The movie had a budget of 14 million and a box office of 56.5 million. So when we did our movies that we liked last week, and I mentioned that I was a big fan of Little Big League over this film, the reason being, I think, is Thomas Ian Nichols annoys me in this film a lot. Uh, I rewatched it. It's not a horrible film. It's just to me, it's just too many annoying things that happen. Also, like the whole fact that he throws the ball underhand at the end of the film. I know somebody made an edit in it that where the guy hits a home run and says goodbye, and there's no professional hitter gonna swing at a damn floating underhand pitch and miss it, especially if he's a big power hitter like that. That makes no sense. Uh, I understand we're supposed to suspend belief, and yes, he fell on his arm, and somehow he's healed, all tight, but then he falls on a was he fall on the ball again, and then miraculously it repairs him. Like it makes no sense there. Uh, yeah, my favorite part of the whole film is John Candy.
Oh, great in the movie.
I'm just not a huge fan of Rookie of the Year. Funny story about it is my Spanish teacher in high school was actually in the film because it was shot in Chicago as an extra, and she got kicked out because they told her that to not look at the camera and say Henry. She's supposed to say Henry to cheer for him.
Uh-huh.
And she, instead of not looking at the camera, she looked directly into the camera and smiled big and said Henry, Henry. And the casting director's like, "Yeah, you're out." And so she got kicked out of. Yeah, and my wife says, if I was gonna break my arm to be a pitcher, please make me a lefty. True. And this film is loved among Cubs fans. I mean, Thomas Ian Nicholas gets sings at the something stretch. He gets signings for this and whatnot. So more power to him. It's just not my thing. I was not a huge fan of it. To me, the best part is John Candy and Chet Stedman, Gary Busey's horrible lines of having the best steak since Kansas City. That's pretty much me. What about you, man?
Oh my God!
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When it first came out a long time ago, I watched it a lot when it first came out. And when you're watching it and you're watching this movie a long time ago, I don't even think I liked baseball as much as I did when I watched it. It's a ridiculous movie. It's a ridiculous plot. I was always blown away by Gary Busey's performance, not in a good way, but like in a ridiculous way. To think of the Gary Busey being a pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, ridiculous. I am a big fan of what I would deem to be sleaze balls in films, and Bruce Altman plays a real good sleaze. Like at the end when he's like, "I brought you Pepsi. We used to always quote that line because that guy is in so much other movies, and we'd always call him "I brought you Pepsi," but his name's Bruce Altman, which is awesome. I know it's not good, but it's ridiculous. It's kind of like, as Brian said here in the comments, it's so bad it could be good at times.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I don't hate it. I won't like seek it out, put it that way.
No, I
But
mean,
it's
I
to me,
haven't
it's
watched it since I watched it for the show, but prior to the show, I hadn't seen it since a long, long time ago, since before college.
yeah. But even like even as a kid, seeing that scene you just shown where that guy hits a home run, and then he throws it back, and the guy tries to tag him, which makes no sense. Like that, the ball's gone already. It's a home run. Like
It's supposed to be somewhere between Naked Gun and like not spoof, but it is kind of spoof because the kid fell on his arm and he's throwing what 100, you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah,
it's so stupid. It's like, but for me, I mean, when I think of Thomas Ian Nichols, sadly, I think of, not sadly, but he then becomes in a American Pie.
American Pie.
Here's a quiz. In what movie does he play where it's Sean Bateman is the name of the star, and it's kind of like a spinoff of American Psycho. Rules of Attraction, if you've never seen that movie, he's really ridiculous he's like drug addled in that movie, but it's so funny to see him and his career kind of go and come back all the way back to here where he can throw. So, and as you stated, fall on his arm again at the end. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's crazy when I was doing research for this. The studio really wanted Daniel Stern to have Macaulay Culkin in the film, and they wanted Joe Pesci to be the role of John Candy as the announcer, and Stern didn't want Pesci in there because he's like, "You're gonna compare it too much to Home Alone," you know, which is I totally agree. I don't think Joe Pesci could have made this film better. I think John Candy was, like, a great part to it. And Culkin couldn't do the film because he did another film called The Good Son, which,
Great.
is totally, like was a complete 180 from what he was normally playing, which I thought was
As you
great,
would.
trying something new, yeah. It's just, to me, he made a good choice, Pesci made a good choice not being in the film, even Candy wasn't credited in this film, which I thought was
That's why I say
hilarious.
no one really ever when people go, "Give me your top 10 Candy flicks." I don't know. I don't really hear it, but you're true. It's a good role for him. It's just
Yeah, and John Candy, he would not too long from this, he passed, but it's like good parts like that, and it plays into the lore that the Cubs are bad. Even though somehow Henry breaks his arm and his arm becomes normal again, they win the World Series without him, even though he was the person that carried them throughout to the playoffs. But I don't know. But yeah, Chet Stedman will strike you out and eat a Salisbury steak. That's one of my favorite memes on the internet. But yeah, that's my first pick to start off soft tone. Let's get into your first pick.
Welcome back, everyone, to Edison Field in Anaheim, California, where the Anaheim Angels are now just 2 outs away from winning their first ever World Series. Well, this will most certainly be remembered as one of the greatest World Series of all time. These Anaheim Angels have been electrified by the sensational play of their first baseman, Air Bud.
2002's Air Bud seventh inning fetch. This was directed by Robert Vince, who directed the masterpieces like MVP, Most Valuable Primate 1 and 2, Spy Mate, Snow Buddies, and Space Buddies. A lot of like animal comedies. This movie stars Jeffrey Ballard, Jay Brazel, and Jason Bryden. It was a DVD release, Tone, so there is no box office for it, and thank
that's a
God.
lie. There was a lot of box. They're hiding those numbers.
Probably in the negatives, my friend. So Tone, tell us everybody why you picked this film.
Well, I mean, I'm laughing here because this is amazing that I get to talk about Air Bud seventh inning fetch. I picked this movie because, well, by the fourth film in any series, you're really, really stretching what I would deem to be just really stretching for anything. And to not put this even in the top 10 of worst baseball movies in itself, I feel would be a crime because it's just really bad. But the cover here, I mean, you got to admit the raccoon holding the ball there. It's kind of, it's kind of cute. Maybe he may help out the White Sox. They may be able to use his arm. But that being said, here's a Kevin Zegers, Zegers, or however you say his name, who's in the movie. He has a connection to our main man, John Carpenter. He was in his movie In the Mouth of Madness, which that's the connection to the other things that we enjoy here. You're not going to find many more connections, but I just find it to be the movie is a really poor performance in baseball. And it has actually nothing to do with the animals that actually play the game. It's actually the humans in the movie are just so stupid. Where the raccoon by the end, you're really wishing that it throws the ball at one of these people. But that being said, please stay away from Air Bud, seventh inning fetch. I'm sure, Yepper, you've seen this movie multiple times. I'm sure you're a big fan.
I've seen this movie one time, and it was to view it for this show. It is very bad. I took that scene out from, the announcer announcing that they're going to, they're in the World Series, which cracks me up because they're in a day game, one. Two, Buddy is a first baseman. The dog's name is Buddy. He's a first baseman. And I'm just like, this is just, it's totally like, the original Air Bud when it came out, I could see it because he hits the ball with his nose.
Yeah.
But this one is just like, oh my God, it just looks ridiculous. It's a ridiculous film. It's so ridiculous that when I tried to do research on this, there was only three things that came up from IMDb because I went, I go through websites to see if there's any development.
This is why I picked it. I was seeing how deep you could go with this. This is good.
And all I can get was Buddy is played by a number of dogs in this movie, through which are Sniper, Shooter, and Shaq. That's a, and then
That's
he, he led, and it says that the only thing that parallels real life is this film was released in 2022. Buddy played for the Angels. They won the World Series, and in 2022 they actually won the World Series. And the other one that I found was Kevin Zegers, Shane Salgrig, Jane Brazu, and Frank C. Turner are the only actors to appear in each of the first 4 Air Bud movies. So that means there are more than 4 Air Bud movies, and God help them.
Oh, there sure are. There are, well, let me just tell you, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are over 10 Air Bud movies and counting. Because they now get
Yeah.
into the Christmas. It's just a big Air Bud. You think Marvel has a universe? I mean, Air Bud's universe is actually bigger than Marvel's universe.
Oh my God. If they're making money, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. I know there's a certain audience
Yeah, I
they
don't
can
know if
shoot
they're really
for.
making money. And I don't know why there's been so many. And I don't know why. But again, it definitely needed to be in the top 10.
Maybe they're tax write-offs. I don't know.
Hey,
But,
could be.
but yeah, I don't know, man. But speaking of crappy movies with animals, we can just go straight into my movie.
Let's
The
do it.
next pick.
Give me that Devo gun!
What is this?
Monkey!
So that wasn't a clip from the film. I couldn't find a good audio clip for this film I'm about to go through, and I figured I just could do a film that had a monkey in it, and that was from 1993's Super Mario Bros., which is not a great movie in its own right, but I felt it fit in with this film. The film we're going to talk about is 1996's Ed, which was directed by Bill Conturi, who also did a West Wing documentary special. He did Earth and the American Dream, Vietnam Requiem, and he did a documentary, Common Thread: Stories from the Quilt, which won him a 1990 Oscar. So we have an Oscar winner during these directorial movies of these horrible films. The film stars Matthew LeBlanc, Janie Brooke, Bill Cobbs, and Gene Ross. It had a box office of $4 million on a $24 million budget. This movie is completely stupid. It's about a monkey who plays for a team, the minor league team, which I can understand they're trying to get like fans in the seats, but you have a pitcher who's played by Matt LeBlanc, who is like this superstar that's going to be really big one day, and they have a mascot / player in Ed who plays for him. The only thing that makes me laugh in this film is when I rewatched it, Jesus, aka Jim Caviezel's in it as Dizzy. Doing research for it, I found that, for one, if you watch the film, you can see that the monkey, when they show scenes of him, it looks kind of weird. It's because it's a person in a suit.
Oh God.
It's a person like half suit, and they shot it up, which made me laugh. Also, Matthew Perry was actually considered for this role, but his buddy Matt LeBlanc took it. It's a horrible film. I don't encourage anybody watching it. If your kids love it, they love Justin Checks In, check it out. But to me, like this and Most Valuable Primate were like really, really bad films. What'd you think about it, Tom?
Oh, well, it's pretty much one of those where it pretty much killed his film career. Let's start right there, because he never really does much after this. In film world, he does Red Shoe Diaries 7 after Ed, which, I mean, he was in, which, I mean, it's not the worst, The Lost in Space with Gary Oldman. He is in that, but he's a backside character. But again, no film career, and I think it's really because of Ed. Jack Warden, though, I'm a huge Jack Warden fan. He didn't save the movie by any stretch, but seeing Jack Warden in anything, it made it the 10% or 5% Rotten Tomatoes gave it, which is really, I don't like to look at those scores and really use it as a judge, but man, it's a low score on there. And 4 Razzies, it's just not a good movie in any way, shape, or form. Yeah.
No, I don't hate Primate Sam, but I do hate I don't even hate bad movies. This movie's
Well,
just
you
bad.
did
Like,
tell me you didn't see the new. You haven't seen any of the Planet of the Apes movies. So
yeah,
now we
and
make
you know what?
I'm just kidding.
No, no, it makes sense now that you say that. But it's Wally, Big Sexy. He was trying to convince me to watch them, and I think I'll check out the other ones.
Sure.
He tells me to check them out, so I know you've been telling me to, so I will check them out. But this film, like, it the chimpanzee doesn't play for a team. He's a mascot that kind of gets the Deuce Cooper over the hill, and because he chokes under pressure, so they bring this mascot in to get him to pitch well, and then he rooms with them, and the owner tries to I don't know, it's just to me it's just unnecessary. It's a tax write-off movie in my opinion. Poor Matt LeBlanc, because this is like right when Friends was like in their heyday, like they were
Sure
hot,
was.
and it makes me laugh because this film came out in '96, and I think Matthew Perry went on to do a film that I actually like a lot called with Salma Hayek. What was the name of it, Tone? You know what I'm talking about.
Fools Rush In.
Fools Rush In, yes. So one of them got the short end of the stick doing the film
And I
there
like
in
Matthew
'97.
Perry. I like Matthew Perry quite a lot in that first whole 9 yards. He's pretty fun with that with Bruce. He's got a couple movies. He did fail with Chris Farley and Almost Heroes, but that being
Yeah.
it's cool still though that he was able to get where unfortunately poor. Would you say though Schwimmer has had? I mean, where would you put Schwimmer? Would you say he's had it better than these two?
To me, like, I think Perry probably is the most successful one I would say is Aniston, then probably Cox
Mhm.
will probably come in second if we're going down the cast. Then Perry, and then Schwimmer. LeBlanc definitely at the bottom, even over Lisa. Like Lisa Kudrow has probably a bit better career than them. Schwimmer, he doesn't really do too many films that I can think of the top of my head besides 6 Days, 7 Nights. Did he do the For Weddings and a Funeral? Was that him too?
I believe so. He's got a really, really great, ridiculous role in that. The one Iceman with the Michael Shannon. He's like, again, a side role, nothing that you would ever remember him in. But again, it's cool to see. He still shows up, but unfortunately, Ed grounded Mr. Matthew Perry. Not Matthew Perry, Matt LeBlanc. I got excited thinking about whole 9 yards still.
Yeah, and totally agree with Brian. His best role is in Band of Brothers. He plays a complete
That's a
asshole in
great
that
role
film.
too. That last scene with him where he's like on the back of the truck and the truck's like pulling. That's great. Great stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely Ed is definitely a stinker in my opinion. But it is what it is. Man, we got some real winners. We had two films back to back that involved animals. But let's get into your next pick though.
Watch this. Watch. Here you go. I tell you what. This is what I'm telling you. If he threw another curveball, I'm gonna slap the shit out you.
Mr. 3000, released in 2004, directed by Charles Stone II, who also directed films like Drumline, Paid in Full, Leela and Eve, and also the Crazy Sexy Cool TLC Story TV movie. The film stars Bernie Mac, Angela Bassett, Michael Respioli, Brian White, and Paul Sorvino. The movie had a box office of $21 million on a $30 million budget. Tone, tell everybody why you picked this film.
Well, I picked it because I really hated on this movie pretty hard when it came out. I love Bernie Mac. So even trying to pick these movies out, I really did not want to go. I love this. I saw this in theaters, well worth the price of admission. Saying this isn't good. It's really honestly because I love having fun. So like the truth of the matter is like if I was sitting here with Sam and we were watching this movie, we would have a blast. But it's just not what I would deem. I had to take this quote because this is something I think you'll enjoy. One reviewer compared it somewhere between the dumb frat house of Major League and the schmaltz of The Natural, which it means that it's got some laughs, but then it also tries to grab you by those heartstrings and make you think a little bit. And I think I've gotten that in some other baseball movies, and I don't think I want that from Bernie Mac in this movie. But honestly, good soundtrack. Um, I also did notice though, like how many movies has "Let's Get It On" been in? Because it's in this movie, and off the top of my head, in a lot of love scenes. Great soundtrack though, if you like awesome soul music. And I found this to be hilarious. Which I want to ask you if you would like this movie more. You might even like the movie. You haven't said it yet, but Travolta turned down the main role that Bernie Mac was slated for. So I don't know if that would have made this movie better or worse.
Yeah, I don't. So this one, I don't hate as much as you do. I don't think it's good per se, but it doesn't bother me as much. I love Bernie Mac. I've always loved him. Bernie Mac was a huge baseball guy. He's a huge Sox fan.
Okay.
Yeah, and John Travolta did turn down this role. Also, Richard Gere and Denzel Washington were set to film this role at some point. And Bernie Mac being a Sox fan, uh, awesome. Hello, Vinny. My wife says Vinny says hi. He says he'll subscribe to you on Kids YouTube.
Oh,
Hello, Vin. But yeah, he trained with the Chicago Cubs for this film. It's just, the sausage guy who's in the mascot, is played by Dane Cook, who I always did not like his comedy. I know Bernie Mac is probably giving him, some exposure, just the way Damon Wayans gave Bernie Mac exposure and money, more money, as a small role.
you didn't like Good Luck Chuck?
No. I never really
You know what
liked
he is
Dane
actually
Cook.
really ridiculous, and he's not good. You ever see Mr. Brooks with Kevin Costner, where he's like the killer? He's in that.
Yes, I
Jackie
have seen it.
Aprile. Yes, it sure is Jackie.
Yeah, it's
Aprile.
Becker's Broly, yes, is it
That's
before
why I
he
picked
got to
this
the mob?
photo. Good eye.
Before he got into the mob. It's also Grandma from Rounders.
Excellent that movie.
Yeah. So this film, there's a lot of I understand there's a lot of stuff that actually came to fruition in the future, like the fact that he was 47 years old trying to get his 3,000 hit, and the oldest player to hit a home run in the major leagues was 47 years old. You know who it was, Tom?
Why don't you tell us? Not up the it was go ahead.
No, go ahead if you know it.
I don't. I was gonna mess
Julio
up.
Franco, who was the ageless wonder, former White Sox legend.
Yes. Now there you go. You got
Yeah.
me. I mean, I was in movie. Now I'm embarrassed because I should have.
The funny thing is, reading this, going through research for this film drew record crowds to Miller Park, which is the home of the Brewers at the time, when they were shot between innings, which makes me laugh. It also, the plaque he holds for the Hall of Fame is actually in the real National Hall of Fame exhibit, according to this IMDb source here, and it's dedicated to baseball movies, not with the real Hall of Famers, but it's dedicated to baseball movies. So I have to ask Aloha Mr. Hands to get a picture of it next time he goes up there for his Major League Baseball Hall of Fame ceremony that he always goes to every year.
Yeah. Awesome.
Just watching this film over again, Paul Sorvino looks totally uninterested in it, and it kind of plays. I can understand why, because it's not that great. It's not bad, but
I mean, like I'm trying to pick this was a hard because I can't even Air Bud. If we were to watch it, we'd laugh. It's not like I hate this. It's it's just not up there with the ones we did last. It's not up there with the last list that we put together.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I love Bernie Mac. Even in Bernie Mac in Ocean's 11, the name is Raul. He's hilarious.
Yeah. The name is Raul.
It's just the way he says.
I love Bernie Mac too. This just like a swing and a miss.
I mean,
so
it did not make over budget, so that was not good for him. But
I mean, you can always budget isn't always. It's just not really that great of a movie.
I know.
It does try to take pop culture stuff when he does the you don't like me ads, because they're trying to do it like Charles Barkley, and I could see where they're trying to go with it, but it just didn't hit the way they wanted to. And it's kind of unfortunate because Bernie Mac was a huge baseball fan, so he probably did put a lot of passion into it. It just didn't work out, and I can see why you picked this one. It's not one of the best, but you know what? They didn't make a lot of money, but they got King Ass's money at the theaters.
That's good. Good enough.
So they got somebody's money, and it was King Ass's. So he says it was a blasphemy to say it's a bad movie. Oh man, just let's move on to our next one, my friend.
All right, let's do it.
Draft's in 9 days. I don't want any surprises. You're talking about one of the best scouts baseball's ever seen. You're talking about the guy that signed Ralph Garr, Dusty Baker, Dale Murphy, Tom Glavine.
With all due respect, Pete, the game's changed. He's so much bigger now. It's global. Needs somebody to keep up with the times. Gus couldn't even turn on a typewriter, let alone a computer. Like, we all hate to think it, but he may be ready for pasture.
2012's Trouble with the Curve, directed by Robert Lorenz, who produced In the Land of Saints and Sinners, American Sniper, and Mystic River. The film stars Clint Eastwood, Amy Adams, Justin Timberlake, John Goodman, Robert Patrick, and Matthew Lillard. It had a box office of $49 million on a $60 million budget. So when I first saw this film was coming out, I'm going to be honest, I was actually kind of excited about it because Clint Eastwood had just come off Gran Torino. He did $1 Million Baby, which I thought were great films. I'm a huge fan of Unforgiven. I'm a huge fan of Old Eastwood, westerns. So he's one of those iconic actors. And having, if you list the cast, having Amy Adams in there, Robert Patrick, Matthew Lillard, not so much, but John Goodman, you have a pretty decent cast there for a good film. Amy Adams is always up there for the Oscars. John Goodman, a great character actor who doesn't get enough love. Same thing with Robert Patrick. And then Matthew Lillard, he's in another film that we'll probably mention later. But he's just one of the good character actors. He could play an asshole best, with the best of them, and he does it in this film. This film, I think, had a lot of kind of like old man yells at cloud, which is what I got from it. Because the whole point of it is Clint Eastwood being a major league scout who found all these great players. They say he found Chipper Jones. And in that clip I just played, they found, he found all those players, and he does it with his eyes and ears instead of, statistics and sabermetrics. And this was kind of like sabermetrics don't do anything, aren't real. They're not the real, outlier to a player. And as we grow into sports today, they're kind of taking over. Now, am I a huge sabermetrics is the end all be all? No, I think there's a mix of personality, other things that go into it. But just to automatically say that the old way is the right way doesn't technically mean it's correct. And this film yells about that a lot. Also, the whole fact of they try to play on this, Amy Adams and Clint Eastwood having this dysfunctional relationship, which it's to me it's a side story. And then her and Justin Timberlake. For one, I can't see Justin Timberlake being a superstar baseball pitcher, which is what he was supposed to be. That got hurt. But him being there in a love story, I think there's just too many things thrown into this film, along with the eventual ending of the Peanut kid striking out the prized draft pick. So it's a debut film for Robert Lorenz, who's collaborated with Clint Eastwood on a bunch of other movies as his assistant director. Clint Eastwood said that he loved being in it. He said that Robert Lorenz did a great job, and he said that he wasn't going to do any other films after Gran Torino, but he was brought back for his film because of Lorenz. I think he was just boasting it up because it's his buddy. I did not like it. I think it's not a great baseball film. I was just because I was just disappointed. I know I went on a little rant there, but Tone, what do you think?
Well, I'll try to spin this. And the movie is not great by any stretch of the means. It's not something that I would put on tonight in any way, shape, or form. When I did watch it, it was a time period, as you stated, when it came out, that for me, there's movies that are out there that I call them peaceful movies, where you could be having what I would deem a bad day and you could put it on and there's nothing to it. It's very light. It's fluffy. I don't It's Clint Eastwood to me. So like for Clint Eastwood, I what's the word I'm looking for is that I could watch him in anything. I've enjoyed him in anything. I rank them all differently. It's the Justin Timberlake stuff that I think sinks the movie for me. The other stuff with him, I mean, that's the part of the movie. The part of the movie is him being mad that times are changing and this is his. I mean, let's go through his last 7 movies that he's been. I mean, that's what it is. Times are changing and he's still the old guy who can go out and do it. And it's the problem is that time changes, and even that character of who he is has changed through time. Matthew Lillard, ridiculous in the movie. The movie had some plagiarism lawsuits behind it that you probably saw while doing research for this. Altogether, again, not a great movie. I wouldn't watch it again. It's very peaceful. Amy Adams, Justin Timberlake, their shit could have left. It's at least Timberlake. He didn't need to be in it, but whatever.
I love Sam's comment here. Can't wait for the sequel, Success Against the Slider. Yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty much it. And like you said, there was a lawsuit with the film. Also, for the role of Mickey, who's Amy Adams, Sandra Bullock and Reese Witherspoon were considered for the role, along with Amy Adams. Bullock backed out due to scheduling conflicts, and then the role was given to Amy Adams. I mean, I think Sandra Bullock dodged a bullet on this one. Also, in the scene, there's a scene where they actually go swimming, Amy Adams and Justin Timberlake. And in real life, Amy Adams saved Justin Timberlake from drowning in this film, which I thought is pretty hilarious going back. There also is a scene where they use flashbacks of Gus, and they use the scenes from footage from Eastwood's film Firefox, which is a 1982 film, to basically do that, which I thought was kind of cool. That was actually kind of cool. Instead of like doing the whole, de-aging thing, they just used a scene where he looked young, which I thought was, pretty awesome. They did the same thing actually in Austin Powers with Michael Caine. They used an older film for him when the car blows up. It's actually an older film scene of him as a young person, which I thought was pretty cool. Clint Eastwood became available for this movie when the planned remake of A Star Is Born, which we know Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga went on to do, was put in a turnaround because he wanted Beyonce to film in it, and she became pregnant. So, we can blame Beyonce for this film. No, I get what you're saying as far as being peaceful. To me, it's just like I watched it again for this
I love
review.
John Goodman. I love
Oh,
Robert
I love
De
him.
Niro. So
I love him
like,
too.
but like I know it doesn't add up to this being at all a good movie. It's again, it's late inning Clint Eastwood. Have you ever seen The Mule?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's not great. This is again, he's got one more supposedly coming out, and I mean, he's what, 94? I mean, what are we thinking here, man? I mean, we're lucky. That's the thing is you look at it 2 ways. Lucky we get something, or he should have done nothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be
But,
like, I don't know.
I don't know. Sometimes it's good too to kind of ride off into the sunset.
Well, that's the old saying. Is it better
I
to
mean,
burn
he's
out or
not hurting for money.
burn out or fade away?
Yeah, he's not. I love Highlander. He's not hurting for money. I mean, like that's the thing with De Niro. It was like, oh, he's in all these horrible. De Niro's got some financial issues that are going on with him.
Well, like, look at
due to
Gene Hackman.
divorce.
Gene Hackman hasn't done a role in 20 years. He's supposedly living off the grid somewhere. That's what Eastwood could have done. He could have just been peaceful, but maybe he likes the action. Maybe in some action he should stay home though. Maybe in this one he should have just
I
missed.
saw Highlander Ricky Bobby. It was the shit. Oh my god, Sam. But yeah, that's my little rant on Trouble with the Curve. Let me know if you agree with that. Yeah, De Niro did lost him a lot of money in his restaurant business. Also, his divorce took a lot of money from him. But he kind of like has done good films. I mean, the film Killers of the Flower Moon was a film he just did, which was good. But I mean, I get what you're saying. As you do want to see the stars of past do something. I think Eastwood's best stuff is when he's behind
I
the
would
camera
give
right now.
Eastwood though a lot more better than De Niro. I mean, De Niro. I mean, I wouldn't put Clint has done a Righteous Kill. Clint hasn't done some of Pacino's territory. I mean, Clint. You don't find Clint in what's the one where the two Adam Sandlers and he plays his sister, Jack and Jill or
Jack and
whatever.
Jill,
Like,
yeah.
you don't find Clint in that.
Well, he
So
wasn't Casper.
well, that was actually on my notes right here. That what's hilarious. You know what's funny is I'm staring at my notes. It says Casper next to it, and I'm going, "Why the fuck did I write Casper?" Thank you for saying that because you saw my notes. I should put a little more than just Casper.
Yeah, he
There we
I don't
go.
know. They gave Clint $80 million to make a movie. He spends 14 on it and pockets the rest. Yeah, I feel you on that one. I love Clint. I would like him to see him do more directing stuff, but this was just a hit and miss for him, in my opinion. But with that tone, let's get in to your next film.
You know what we get to do today, Brooks? We get to play baseball.
2002's The Rookie, directed by John Lee Hancock, who also directed The Blind Side, The Highwaymen, The Little Things, and Saving Mr. Banks. This film stars Dennis Quaid, Brian Cox, Jay Hernandez, Rick Gonzalez, and Rachel Griffins. The movie had a budget of $22 million and a box office of $80.7 million. So this movie made some money. So tell everybody why you don't like this film.
I like how you said the movie made some money, and then right above the title it says Walt Disney. So it's like, oh man, Walt Disney comes out with a movie and it made money. I mean, most Walt Disney movies make money. Number two, they should have got Randy instead of Dennis for this movie. That would have made this movie awesome. Movie, I mean, man, if you're gonna, and I hope you don't, if you say you like this movie, and I don't know what you're going to say, what are you going to say? Let's hear. Then I'll
No. We gotta go. It's your film.
Okay,
You go off.
because if you put The Natural down in any way, but then you say this is a good movie, it's a clown. Your natural argument has nothing to stand on. This movie is ridiculously schmaltzy. Brian Cox, no, it's just I just hate Dennis Quaid, and I don't like him in this role. And I think it's just there's so
You really
much.
hate Dennis Quaid? Wow.
Not really that much. I just hate his late inning. Oh, father. Oh, he's the pitcher. Oh, this is such a great story. But
The events of this movie are incredible. In this house, Jim Morris is a hero.
Okay.
So, one of the reasons why I don't hate this movie, I don't like it better than Natural. I don't really like The Natural.
Well, I know you don't. I just think if you
But
love the movie,
I will. The reason this movie I guess would be better is because I guess it's based off a true story of Jim Morris, even though it's like there's a bunch of continuity errors.
I'm sure. I'm sure Brian. You know what? No, you go on. I'm sorry.
Brian Cox. Oh, no, it's okay.
I mean, I'm just saying. I love when they say it's a true story. Like, oh man, he was a little boy, and this throw is exactly like it's a true story. But there's
I mean, Jim Morris was a real player. It's embellished, of course.
Well, he was. And so was Rudy, right?
Yeah, but Rudy is he was offsides. This guy actually played in Major Leagues.
Well, he did, but it wasn't like, oh my god, everyone bought his jersey. It was the highest selling.
Oh
jersey.
no.
Let's make a Disney movie, and now it's 80.
It was a Disney movie. Yeah, it was a Disney movie. It's the whole point of it.
About it more when he was playing the game.
One thing that sticks out about me about this film is I remember when this film came out, I was a junior. No, I think it was a senior in high school. And we like our bookstore, we had a bookstore at our high school, used to have a sign out and it says, see, I went to Rita, so St. Rita, see St. Rita's, her appearance in The Rookie. And I'm like, what the fuck is St. Rita doing in a baseball movie? That was all. And then the film opens with that, cool. St. Rita of Kasha. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So that always sticks out to me. That's the reason why I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. As far as the film, it's just it's like tries to be a happy, feel good film. You
Last year
know,
in the classroom, had to watch it with the students, and it was during my succession at the end. So Brian Cox is the father. I think it was to me, it was like very Remember the Titans ish, which is
you want to know
just
what's funny
what.
is that you say if you like if you don't like the natural. Looking through my notes, I went through a couple websites for this, and one of the things it says is it shares similarities to the natural 1984.
Well, that's what
As
I
they
was
are
saying.
both
So, like,
35 years old rookies who portrayed by 47-year-old actors.
I think I would like the movie more if it wasn't. I don't like when Quaid, and he does this a lot in later movies where he's like, just like really like, I'm determined. And like a better actor in the role, I could see me liking the movie more. For me, I think Quaid is what does it for me. I think if I'm trying to think of somebody who I, Jim Caviezel. I'm not saying he, but like just Quaid, just something about him in the role. But as stated here, um, I will worship Rachel Griffith. She is awesome in the movie, and I'm a huge fan of her in lots of movies. And so yeah, that's just unfortunately,
Yeah.
sadly, it's because this is the second problem. Here we got some pictures here. Side by side of Mr. Quaid and
Yeah, but you can't go off
yeah,
that because
it's a true story. It's so
yeah,
true.
but I mean, if you're gonna say that, like, there's certain people who like in films that played another character, and like the real
Oh
person is
yeah.
ugly as hell. Like,
Uh-huh.
okay, you wanna go? Let's go to a film like Mask, for instance. And we always talk about 1980, 80s movie Mask. They
Yep.
made Rocky Dennis look 10 times worse in the movie than they really looked in real life.
Well, but the difference is like, okay, recently, I didn't pick it for one of my movies, but I watched the Bob Marley biopic that just came out. Really not good in my opinion. But that being said, he didn't really look like Bob Marley. I believe in the essence when you go back to a movie which I know you despise, The Doors, and you look at Val Kilmer, he looked just like Jim Morrison. Now
He
you
was the
might
best
like,
part of the movie.
well, that's it. Here, what's his name looks like more like David Wells, okay? Which I guess if that's what we were going for, we could have got Danny DeVito, which would have probably been better. But that being said, I see why people enjoy it.
Katie knows
I'm
what's up. She says she always associates Dennis Quaid with The Parent Trap. That's a great movie.
See, my wife, she's very she is into Dennis Quaid, so I could imagine her. And I could respect Caitlin enjoying the movie because I could see why watching this movie. It's one of probably out of all the movies we've went through tonight, probably the one that definitely has the best message in baseball.
Yeah, I can't say like, oh, because they
Dennis
look
Quaid. I was
differently.
just wanted to go on a rant about Dennis Quaid.
Uh,
So I probably
but
should have picked another movie. I apologize for you.
that's all
rookie.
good. But in terms of like going side by side, like I can't really fault them for that because you're portraying a part. So
You're
I
right.
know you can like if we're going to a serious movie like what we did Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
The way Robert Downey Jr.'s character is portrayed as a real person, or the person who portrayed uh Albert Einstein, how much he looked like him. That's fine. Like that's a more serious movie. I don't think they're trying to win Oscars with this film. They're just trying to make some money and have a good
Oh,
feel
you know
good
what? I'm gonna
story.
remember down the line when we watch another movie and there's an actor that doesn't look like the actual part, and you're like, he didn't look like the actual person he was supposed to. So, don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
no, you can do that if if that film is supposed to be taken seriously for Oscar.
This
No,
was
then
supposed to be taken
it was
seriously.
not. It was not supposed to be taken seriously for Oscars. It was made by Disney.
This is before the age where Disney was up for some Oscars, but I could imagine if this movie comes out this year, they're hunting Oscars with Quaid. There you go.
I'm going to one of these days. We're going to do an all Dennis Quaid show. I'm just going to hear you rant
But
about
there
Dennis
is good
Quaid.
movies. Interspace. I can go on for some good flicks with Dennis Quaid. So Jaws 3, even I'll watch 3.
I liked him in Frequency.
Well,
Jim Caviezel.
you're back to Jim Caviezel again. So you went.
Yeah, I liked him in that film though. I
Oh.
thought it was a pretty crazy story. I didn't think it was horrible.
Dad, Dad, is
Yeah.
that you, Dad? Yes. And then here's him again, typical Quaid.
Chief.
Yes,
He calls him
son.
Chief. He calls him Chief. Yeah,
Yes.
yes, Chief. Day after
But
tomorrow. Day
it's a
after
good
Ghostmaker.
Day After Tomorrow. That's a good movie, and my wife showed me that movie. That's a classic.
Producers contacted Royce Clayton, the first batter Jim Morris faced in the major leagues, and got his permission to use his name, etc., for the film. It actually took Morris 4 pitches to strike him out. Clayton managed to hit 1 foul, but it was too difficult to film a ball going foul as they left it out. That to me is stupid. Also in the film, it says it was shot in 2001 when in reality it was 99 that this was actually taking place. The film actually says this was like in 2001 at the Arlington. So A-Rod wasn't even on the team when this film was shot. But apparently he was in the movie. That's the little things that I didn't like. I was just like, okay, which is fine. They're going to take, they're going to embellish. Do I hate this film? No. Do I think it's great? No.
The one cool thing I will give it is that they got to use the Tampa Bay Devil Rays logo, which I used to have this Fred McGriff Devil Rays jersey that I enjoyed. But maybe I was a little harsh on Quaid. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing
Leave
board.
Quaid alone, man. Leave
Sorry,
him alone.
Quaid. You know,
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
you blabbed about Mars, Quaid. You blabbed about Mars. Oh, that's different.
Every time you kept saying Quaid, that's what I kept thinking about.
You blabbed about Mars, Quaid.
Oh my god. Man, so I didn't expect Tony to go all ham on Dennis Quaid, but here we are.
That was it. That was the peak of my anger on the show. That was it.
But if you hated this film, I wonder what you think about my film.
Here we go.
They say 1 in 6 big leaguers played in the Cape League. And I can't count all the ones I've seen play on this field. Bagwell, Bell, Biggio, Nomar, Movan, the Big Hurt. I've watched so many dreams come true and die on the ball fields of the Cape. Hard as it is to believe, now it's my turn. Now I'm the guy the scouts will be watching. I'm the guy putting it on the line every time I take the mound.
2001's Summer Catch, directed by Michael Tolan, who also directed Radio, Morningside 5, and Hank Aaron, Chasing the Dream. It stars Freddie Prinze Jr., Jessica Biel, Fred Ward, Matthew Lillard, and Brian Dennehy. The movie had a box office of $19 million and a budget of $34 million. This is like peak Prince and Lillard like collaboration. If you ever noticed, they're in a tons of films together. This film, Wing Commander. That was a great game, man. And then they made that film was bad. I like Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm a huge fan of just him in general as a person. I actually listen to his podcast sometimes. He cracks me up. And I like Matthew Lillard. This guy Fred Ward, who I'm a huge fan of, like both of us are. Brian Dennehy, an old Brian Dennehy, and a young Jessica Biel. It's a film I'll watch when it's on, to be honest with you, because it's on. I'll watch it sometimes, just to put it on for background noise. As far as a good film, it definitely is not. I think it was trying to go for that, feel good, campy, like college frat kind of baseball movie. But in terms of like comparing it to other films I watched along the years, like Everybody Wants Some, which is a film that Matt Zoe put me onto, Father Zoe, which is a great like baseball film that we didn't mention last time. But in terms of that, compared to that, this film is nowhere near it. I think it falls short in terms of the story. It does have good baseball, I guess, footage, or I guess acting in terms of that, except Matthew Lillard, which cracks me up because the way he runs makes me laugh. And it mentions a lot about Cape Cod, their baseball team, which is very well known around Major League Baseball in circles. Good players have come from that. It's just, to me, it's just not a great film. And I'm pretty sure most of the people in 2001 males were really looking forward to it for the Jessica Biel, which was the real reason that they got into it, and this kind of propelled her up in her career. But yeah, definitely not a great film. My favorite part of the film is actually when the little girl is thinking of mascots. She does she's running around with the clam, and somebody asks her if she's trying to be the Chatham cookies. It just makes me laugh. But that's probably like my favorite part of the film. It's not a great one. What do you think about it, Tone?
Oh, it's not good at any stretch. Let's go through some of the bad here. So like one reviewer called it wrong side of the tracks filler. Which, I always like the wrong side of the track stories. I agree. Freddie Prinze Jr., he's got some good stuff. Seems to be a good, awesome person. Um, I- Again, not a really big fan of the ending of the movie. I think it's cheesy as all hell. I do like Ken Griffey Jr., but it's just not what I would deem to be like a believable. I mean, if you thought The Natural was unbelievable, boy, I got a story for you.
Huh.
But Matthew Lillard again, as Brian stated, he said it's another one. Wonder if it's I don't know. I'll watch it. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's surely not good in any way, shape, or form. But all of that being said, as you just mentioned before you handed it off to me, Jessica Biel at the time, that's why a lot of people were tuning in. That's it.
Brian, I like the dude that bangs Miles. You like Miles? Also a young Wilmer Fez from the '70s shows in this film as
Some
Damu.
uncredited people in this movie with John C. McGinley and Beverly
Mhm.
D'Angelo and a couple small little roles.
Yeah, which means he was trying to like go for that college like frat boy feeling, which is what I get. Funny thing is Kirk Gowdy who does the announcing in the film. I actually like that part. Um, he was in the film with Hank Aaron appears as a scout, and he called Hank Aaron's 715th home run, which broke Babe Ruth's record. So I thought that was kind of cool. There's some parts in it that are okay, and then the rest of it's like, I think Fred Ward. They make Fred Ward to be an asshole, and I'm like, why is he an asshole? Because he drinks. The whole like Freddie Prinze Jr. and his dad kind of thing is it kind of makes me think that Freddie Prinze Jr. just feels sorry for himself too much in the damn movie. Needs to
Well,
grow
what
up.
about Mr. Iron Eagle? He's in the movie. His what is it? Jason Giedrick as
Mhm.
Mike Dunn again. Iron Eagle.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, is the brother
Yeah, Brittany Murphy.
a young
Uh,
Brittany Murphy? Yeah. Man,
yeah,
it's also the guy from X-Men. I forget his name is in the film. He plays Jessica Biel's dad. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
He plays
Oh,
the senator in the
oh, yeah.
film. What the hell's his name? I don't
The
know.
one.
It's not.
You the one who plays her dad. It's
Yeah.
Bruce Davison.
Yeah. Bruce.
He's in he's in
Yeah.
X-Men
Yeah.
movies and a couple different
Yeah.
things.
And Van Leemer is supposed to be the best pitcher, and the dude looks like an emo guy. It just makes me laugh. Like, oh my goodness, it's not a great film by per se, which is why it's on here. But if it is on, I will watch it. Uh, just to kill time. So I can't mention that. I mean, yeah. And then this next film we're gonna talk about. Oh my God, and let's just get into it because
It wasn't just Buckner. Stanley screwed him. He didn't cover first.
Where'd you get this?
I don't remember.
Don't lie to me. Right? Do you have any more of these? Huh? Where's your stash? Ben, this isn't helping you. You understand that? This solves nothing! Man, look at you.
Yeah, leave me alone.
All right. Let's clean him up.
Come on. I let her down. Let's go. I am the Red Sox.
You're not the Red Sox.
I am the Red Sox.
You're not the Red Sox.
2005's Fever Pitch, directed by Bobby Farrelly and Peter Farrelly, or Farrelly brothers. Dumb and Dumber 2 was another film they directed. The Three Stooges, The Heartbreak Kid, Stuck on You, There Is Something About Mary, and Kingpin. The film stars Drew Barrymore, Jimmy Fallon, and Jason Spivak. It had a budget of $30 million and a box office of $50 million. Tone, tell me why you love this film.
This is usually how do I say this, where I like in the usual shows where I say that I've made a mistake earlier with one of my choices. I shouldn't have really been as mean to Dennis Quaid as I was, because man, I really hate Jimmy Fallon. And boy, do I find him to be as funny as a wet towel in a show. I just don't. I mean, and you're talking to someone who likes so many different kinds of humor. And then I find out he's actually a big jag um,
Oh
behind the
my god.
scenes. Um, oh well, we all get to have our opinions. That's what's great. They do vary, as Dalton says. But that being said, I just can't with this movie. I hate that it's a remake and they remade this. The soundtrack, though, again, it's got a pretty rocking soundtrack. I will give it in the category of goodness there. Cool, Stephen King makes an appearance, but I hate this. I just don't like it.
So I remember when this film came out, it was getting a bunch of good reviews. It's a romantic love story because Drew Barrymore was going through the love story. She did Never Been Kissed, then she did this film, and then they did 50 First Dates. The Wedding Singer. So she was all in the romantic comedies. So this film was supposed to be up there. I am not a fan of Jimmy Fallon and have never been a fan of Jimmy Fallon. So I'm kind of with you on that. I don't think he's funny. He annoys me on the Tonight Show. And I just something about him I don't like. I don't know. He just annoys me. Um, this film, that kind of drew me back is like that scene I played. I think their Boston accents are really, really forced and really, really bad. Also, Jimmy Fallon is a huge Yankees fan, and he's playing a Boston Red Sox fan, which is weird. The soundtrack is the best part of this film. I couldn't really get into this film. I tried. It just didn't hit home with me. One thing I did find cool about this is Sweet Caroline that they play in the film. Um, they actually use that every year, every home game with the Red Sox since the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. After that happened, they began using that song. So it's constantly goes on, and it's been parodied and made fun of by other stadiums when they play Boston, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, it's just this film is just a big miss for me. I like Drew Barrymore. I just don't think Jimmy Fallon is hilarious at all. The only thing I like Jimmy Fallon in is a commercial. I think it was for Dr. Pepper or Pepsi, where he just dances in the middle of the street. That's the only thing I liked him in. I'm just not a big Jimmy Fallon fan. Uh, but yeah, I don't know, man. I went from Summer Catch to this, and yeah,
That's where
this
we're
movie
going. Yeah,
this movie made money. I would watch Summer Catch over this anytime, of the
I would.
week.
I would too.
Um,
Just because of what you said, it gives a little bit more of those throwback kind of classic teen, as you said, jock movies or whatnot. This movie is just it's stupid to a point that's hilarious too. What he said.
Even Joey P said this one was a hard pass for him.
It's
Yeah,
I guess I think in the end of the Adam Sandler movie, Anger Management with the Jack
Jack Nicholson.
Nicholson, they end up at the Boston game, and that is a little bit to me. I thought that was a little bit, and just in that scene was better than whatever's going on in this movie. I think again, maybe without Jimmy Fallon, because I am a fan of Drew Barrymore. Um,
Mm.
quite, I think she's pretty good in quite a lot of different things. Sh- but when you're in this movie and you're mixing it up with Jimmy Fallon, you're not really getting a whole lot to work with. A whole lot. I watched this movie the other day with her. It was called, and you're gonna laugh. I want you for like, what the hell we watched? I watched this movie called Boys on the Side. It was Whoopi Goldberg. It was Drew Barrymore, and it was what's her name from Weeds, Mary Louise Parker, and just it's an early Matthew McConaughey's in it, and it's like really early movie, but
Matthew
great movie.
McConaughey.
When I could tell you that Whoopi Goldberg is an Academy Award actor compared to Jimmy Fallon, after watching that movie, we're in some trouble.
Well, I mean, she did win an Oscar. But yeah, let's Mystery Science Theater every movie Tony doesn't like and make him suffer through them again. I'm down for that, Sam.
I know the thing about me is I actually you're gonna suffer because I'm the one gonna be laughing and having fun and pointing stuff out. You're like, Jesus Christ, this guy never stops. Because I don't really like, even in the show, I'm trying to showcase my this sucks. When the reality is again, if I was sitting in Sam's basement, he said I'm putting on any movie, I'd have a smile and we'd have a great time because movies don't piss me off, but it's just not one that I think I would ever recommend to anybody because it's that freaking bad.
If it's bad, I probably won't pay attention to it.
Well, we would, but that's the second problem. If we're in a basement watching movies, this wouldn't be
Oh,
one of the top
Tony doesn't
1,000.
watch movies; he picks them apart.
There you go.
It's funny you mentioned Stephen King in this film. When they filmed the opening day scene of him throwing out the first pitch, it was actually filmed in September of '04, which is the year actually the Red Sox won the World Series. They beat the Cardinals. But he threw out the first pitch of that game. The Red Sox were on a 10-game winning streak. And when he threw out that first pitch, they ended up losing, and everybody blamed him, including the Boston Globe. So Stephen King was the reason they lost that game. But yeah, this film is one of those films that kind of fall down the wayside. To me, it's not a. It's when I think of baseball movies, I definitely don't think of this one. And again, I'm not a huge fan of Jimmy Fallon. I don't know how many times I can say that. He's just not funny to me. But to each their own. If you like it, I'm sorry. But
that's the one thing I think the one thing that I think probably between both of us that would differ is that I probably have sat through a hell of a whole lot more bad movies than you have because I'll watch anything where you probably be like, if you could go now and you knew who Jimmy Fallon was and you saw this on the shelf and we weren't doing the show and you'd never seen it, you probably never would watch the movie because it looks bad. Like
I won't say that because I'm not a huge fan of Will Smith, like as an actor, but I'll watch his films. I'm not. I now will I run out and watch the first day? No, but as an artist and like as an actor, I will watch his film.
De Niro fan, are you going to watch some of those straight to DVD De Niro movies?
I'll see them. Yeah, I'll watch them to see how they are. I mean, I watched Kurt Russell's 3,000 Miles of Graceland.
But that's the thing is like okay, like if I go right now and I'm going to look up De Niro, which he's come out with so many movies, you're not like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like pursuing them?
Yeah, and you're not going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? When you have free time to watch a movie, you're not going to go to, here we are, Amsterdam, The Comeback Trail, The War with Grandpa. You know what I mean? Like these aren't movies that but if they're on TV, I'm with you. I watch them too.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna seek them out. But I mean, I don't know. I'll try it, and if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like this film.
Is we'll watch anything just to give it our
Yeah. But speaking of films that I really disliked, we can just get into my next film, which is
that David took his first step down the road of greatness.
That is a real scene from that film. It's a little played together, but it's a girl running down the home plate and she gets hit and then makes that sound. Ugh, ugh. That's how I felt watching this film. 2005 is The Sandlot 2. It's directed by David Mickey Evans, who directed the original. He also directed First Kid, Beethoven Third and Fourth, and Ace Ventura, Kid Detective. So, oh my God, Not Larry loves this film. Poor Not Larry. Yeah, this movie stars Max Lloyd-Jones, James Wilson, and Samantha Burton. It had a budget of $15 million. I couldn't find a box office for it because it was a direct-to-video sequel. So the reason I don't like this film is because it's basically The Sandlot Part 1. And it's made by the same director. It's basically the same story, although it talks about the original story, but just with new kids. They also replaced the PF Flyers with Nikes. To me, it's just, and then we have Johnny Smalls, who's Smalls' little brother, apparently that we never heard mentioned at all. I don't know. This film is just, to me, I saw it once. I tried watching it again for the rewatch and I couldn't get through it because I'm like, I'd rather just watch the original Sandlot because it's a better film than this one. I do not like this film. It's definitely cash grab. And there's another Sandlot film, I guess, where the guy gets hit in the head and goes back in time. what the hell's going on with The Sandlot? Like, why would you make a sequel to a great film like The Sandlot? Definitely a big cash grab, and the fact that the original director directed this, to me, is like, what the hell are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing? Uh, that's just me. I was not a huge fan of this film. James Earl Jones is in this film again. He comes back as Mr. Myrtle. Uh, same plot, and it's like I even looking at my notes. One of the things that kept sticking out was Sandlot 2 was nearly the exact same plot of the first Sandlot, which is why this movie sucks. Why is it? Why didn't they just keep it the Sandlot 1? Why are they remaking the Sandlot? This is stupid, and then you're just using different kids. That's all the criticism I read for this film, and I completely agree with them. I don't know. What do you think about this film, Tom?
Well, this is awkward because this is the first conversation me and Brian ever had. Was he was just telling me how much he loved this movie, and I just don't really know how to really attack it. But I'm sorry, Brian, if I've well, never mind. But that being said, the movie is ridiculous. Let's just start there. And it is first of all, again, this is to me, I don't know. I liked Air Bud a little bit more personally because it had a little bit more heart.
A little more heart.
Brian, love you, Brian. Brian, love you.
Did you say Air Bud had more heart?
Yeah, it was at the raccoon. You didn't think so?
It was better than this film. I'll give it that.
Well, I mean, more heart. I mean, like when I see animals, I'm an animal person. So, like to me,
also,
buy into a golden retriever, especially when you're telling me their names were Shaq, whatever their names were.
Shooter and Sniper.
Yes.
But the funny thing is, we didn't mention this about Air Bud. My brother actually texted to me. The cover of the film is him with a metal bat. He's supposed to be playing Major League Baseball.
I know. See? That's
Oh my god. Yeah, Sandlot 2 sucked, man, for me. I rarely say like films are sucky, but this film, just because it was just a basic retelling of the first one, I'm like, it was unnecessary.
I just don't like what's the word I'm looking for when they do that, when they try to like, okay, we're gonna do it again, and it's just pretty much the same thing again.
Yeah, and I mean, there's other franchises that have done it.
Want that shirt? Had the raccoon. Everybody had the raccoon.
Yeah, everybody had the raccoon. I don't know, man. I tried I couldn't do it.
No, am I correct? Is this boy in the front here with the curly hair? Is he the one from Bad Santa?
I think so, yes.
Which, again,
classic.
We're gonna replace, the first kid with the kid from Bad Santa. I don't know, man. I don't like that either. This is the younger brother of the one from the first one, but we don't ever really get to meet. Like everyone else is gone. Like everyone else in this town is gone. It's 10 years later. I know they're in the major leagues now, but would your siblings really be like? I don't know, man. I don't.
You know what they should have done? If he wanted to do like a Sandlot 2, he should have did it with them being older. Like them going, like how they all branched out. Like Timmy and Tommy made mini malls. Like that would have been kind of cool to see, like the different aspects of them growing up and what they're getting into, and or do something on Benny the Jet going to the majors. Like what happened after that, or how Smalls got into radio broadcasting and his passion for that. Like do something. Don't just do the same damn story. And the thing that really makes me mad is it's the same damn director that did it. That's what makes me mad.
And you couldn't even get Dennis Quaid back. I mean, not Dennis Quaid, Dennis Leary. You could get Dennis Leary back.
Yeah, Dennis Leary wouldn't have come back for this film unless they would have paid him a lot of money.
Come on, though. What else is he doing? What else well, he was on the Fireman Show in 2005, so Rescue Me. So he probably would have taken some money, but. That being said, not good movie.
And they want Jim Carrey to do the adult Johnny Smalls. I'm glad he didn't do it.
Good. Good.
I don't this. Oh my god! Another film that you only could find several only thing you could find are negative things. Sandlot 2, Electric Boogaloo. That would have been a better film of them dancing around. I don't know, man. It's just this is to me this is the worst baseball film in my opinion. But yeah. You ready to move on to your final one, Tone?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
No, now, Richie, do you have any kids?
Never had a date.
Clyde?
Never spoke to a girl.
Gus?
2006, The Benchwarmers, directed by Dennis Dugan, who did Grown Ups 1 and 2, Saving Silverman, National Security, Big Daddy, Tony's Favorite, Jack and Jill, and Just Go With It. It stars Rob Schneider, David Spade, John Lovitz, John Hader, and Craig Kilborn. Tone, tell me why you picked this one.
Rob Schneider. I just wrote these names down. I got to read them. Rob Schneider, David Spade, Nick Swartzen. Is that enough to say why I hate this movie? I feel bad for John Hader. I always have, because it was like Napoleon Dynamite was just so big for him, and then
he didn't make the money off it though.
Blades, I know that's the problem, and then Blades of Glory, which is a lower Will Ferrell movie, and then this, again, it's really ridiculously stupid. So, I mean, if you're into, which I like to watch sometimes, I guess, The Animal or something like that with Rob Schneider, I guess, if it was on. I don't know. It's just not what I would deem to be a good baseball movie. I mean, when we're talking about baseball movies, this is just not good. No, and that's the thing. I'm coming over because we're watching all these movies together tonight, Sam. I'm on my way right now.
So this film, I don't hate this film. I actually, it's kind of enjoyable to me. It's stupid, by far. When doing research for this film, I found that the reason this film even came apart, of together, is because David Spade and Rob Schneider were having issues, and Adam Sandler forced them to work together to smooth things over with them, which I thought was pretty hilarious. I do like Dick Swartzen. I think he was hilarious in Grandma's Boy. Happy Madison Vehicle.
Yeah, what's great is when you can say somebody's good and it's like one movie.
Well, he's also in Gay Robot, which is a TV show that I thought was hilarious. I think he's pretty funny. He's in a lot of trouble right now because he went to one of his comedy shows drunk.
Yeah,
but I feel what you mean about John Hader. This film is not. It's corny, but it's also really weird. Like John Lovitz's character has a robot. Like it's
got it's strange. Not really. It's like it would be like I'd feel bad about my pick if it didn't get a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, and someone didn't say it's the morphing of the Bad News Bears and a Three Stooges episode parades its dumbassness with such stip that it almost passes for clever. So I mean, the thing about it is it could be considered that.
A lot of thought went into this film.
It's like The Animal or Deuce Bigelow, I mean, it's going to have some.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that you were going to laugh at, and I like Nick Swartzen, I guess. In what's the one? I Love You, Chuck and Larry. So I guess he's not bad in everything.
Also, one of the scenes I do like is when Carlos, when they have Carlos, when they're getting their ass kicked, and they go and the coach goes to to get the guy, the 35-year-old guy Carlos, to come in and play. And the way they get him into play is he has a picture that says "I am 10" with a $10 bill to the umpire. The umpire opens it up and he just takes the "I am 12." Thank you, Sam. He takes the $10 bill, puts it in his pocket. He's like, he's got documentation. That part makes me laugh, and the hope they just get him loaded to where he just throws up. But when he hits the home run and he does a little dance, that makes you. And then they have him carrying around the flag, with the Puerto Rican flag, which always cracks me up. That cracks me up. I will tell you this: I will watch The Benchwarmers 100 times out of 100 over Sandlot 2.
And I'll tell you, I will watch Trouble with the Curve 100 times over The Benchwarmers. So
I'll watch Trouble with the Curve over 100 times over Sandlot 2 too, because it's so bad.
Sandlot 2 is the worst of. I mean, again, if it wasn't for the cute raccoon, Air Bud 2 would, or 3 or 7 or whatever Air Bud it actually is. But the thing about it is that like with all these movies, man, that's the thing about, as Dalton says in Roadhouse, man, opinions vary. So many good, but some of these movies are just bad.
Also, it makes me laugh too in the film that Terry Crews is a guy who was bullied by Rob Schneider when he was a kid. I'm like, what? He's like, he was such a bully. That makes me laugh. And then the principal makes him run away. But yeah, it was Sam loves this movie. He says it was so great. It's not the greatest film, but it wasn't the worst in my opinion. But I can see why you don't like it. Um, Brian says he would rather watch Trouble with the Curve. He actually says I'd rather get a colonoscopy than watch Trouble with the
I
Curve.
mean, it's just like I know it's not something that you're looking for, but I can't ever imagine that anybody who would ever take a film show seriously would be like, "Man, the bench warmers. This is
Oh
cool."
no, definitely not. I mean,
I'm not saying. I'm just saying out loud.
Yeah, but John Hader does a lot of voiceover work, and I think he made the right choice because it kind of takes him out of that. Unfortunately, he was
Rob
as I
Schneider.
say,
Have you seen some of his comments lately? He didn't believe in the
uh,
vaccine. He doesn't. He's a jerk. I know.
he's an idiot, but
Like when you watch a movie, it's kind of like Michael Jackson. Like you kind of think about some of that stuff, don't you?
oh yeah, I mean, how can you not? But
But go on. Yeah.
no, yeah, John Hader does voiceover work. He kind of got like stereotyped into the Napoleon Dynamite, like you said, and same thing with Efren Gonzalez who was Pedro, him too. They got kind of stereotyped in, and it's kind of unfortunate because Hader didn't really make any money off Napoleon Dynamite. I think he only made like $1,000, and the film made millions, and he only made $1,000. And I guess he just took these roles to make some dough.
I don't know him. Get that money.
But I phoned Tony. I asked to do it. I have a thesis that every half mission would be Oscar contenders. Dad, we're gonna get you on for a Happy Madison thing. One
Love
of these days.
Happy Gilmore. Love Big Day. I love pretty much a lot of. I love Grandma's Boy. I love, as I just said, Chuck and Larry. I love. It's just some of the ones that are like branches out. Like what's Bucky?
Those are the Happy Madison films.
Bucky Larson.
That movie's bad.
Some of the newest Sandler movies. I loved Hubie Halloween. I thought that was hilarious. I don't know.
He did. Spade did a movie where he was Dickie Roberts, childhood star.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
And he had rubber gloves on.
Joe Dirt. There's some hilarious stuff. The bad guy in Cobra's in Joe Dirt.
Yes, he is.
Lotion on its skin. He plays the sounds of. I mean, there's a lot over there.
Come on, baby, give it to me. All right, there's a '94 Chevy.
When thinking, this is really, I'm thinking the only one that I off the top think negatively of. But yeah, and we got to have you on for some Happy Madison. They just announced just this yesterday too. Happy Gilmore 2.
Happy Gilmore 2 is coming up.
It is a go.
So, Tone, are there any films that we didn't touch on that deserve honorable mentions from you?
I've heard, and I don't know if some people like it. I mean, are you a big fan of Major League Back to the Minors?
It's bad, but I don't think it's like one of the worst.
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I'm just thinking of movies that wouldn't be in the top. It would be more in the bottom half of bad, bad baseball movies. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Keanu Reeves and Hardball. I mean,
I love that film.
But see, that's where I didn't pick. I was trying to go for things that I knew that we weren't going to. But then again, that's
I love Hardball.
Keanu's
Canoe, man.
That some people like that movie. So man,
I think it's unbelievable because Keanu plays a kind of like a dick in that movie, and he's actually a really nice guy. That's why.
$1 Million Arm was bad with John Hamm. I don't know if you've seen that one. Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck. I mean,
oh my God, dude, we do not disparage Mr. Baseball here, bro. Jack Elliott, dude, no.
Now The Scout, that's a good movie.
I love The Scout. That's another good film. Me, like when I think of films that I haven't mentioned, Most Valuable Primate, MVP, horrible film. Also, another film that does not get a lot of recognition, but is very bad, is an old, it's like a 91 film with Edward James Olmos and Lorraine Bracco, who was his wife at the time, called For the Love of the Game. He plays a Major League Baseball scout. It's not good. It's not good. I remember watching it, and I was just like, "Wow, this is bad." And then I watched it again. And I'm like, yeah, it's still bad." Um, Major, get the hell out of here, Brian. But yeah, big hit, Happy Body. We don't disparage or talk bad about Mr. Baseball here, dude. No. But those are some of the films that we went into. If you guys have any ones that you disliked or you disagree with us completely, let us know at the show on Twitter or at our handles at Lil Yumper or the Sugar Baggy. Or you can let us know in the comments. We would really, really like to know what you guys think, Tone. So that's our bad baseball draft. Cotton, I hope you liked it. If you got some films, Cotton, let us know. We're gonna have to get Michael Cotton on here. Tony, I think you'll jive with him really well. He's a part of a group called the Ranters, and he cracks me up when he goes on rants.
Love it.
But we'll have to get him on here one of these days. But with that, Tone, let's get into our flow of things here and kind of close up shop, start getting to the end, and go into what's coming soon.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Coming soon.
Próximamente.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
So what we got, Tone?
We got coming up soon here, right around the corner here. We're going to be getting a brand new Beverly Hills Cop film, which is kind of exciting because it's been quite the time since we've gotten the last one. So we've decided that we are going to be going through the very first Beverly Hills Cop movie in anticipation of Beverly Hills Cop Axel V.F., which will be coming out July 3rd this summer. So we're going to be doing the very first movie, and boy, is it loaded with laughs. Judge Reinhold, lots of greatness. Pretty excited.
Yep, we're gonna do. Looking forward to that one. We'll do a deep dive on that. Back to the old format. We're gonna try to go in between both formats, new and a bit old. They seem to be working pretty well. Next show was gonna be on a Sunday at 2 Tone.
That is right.
Yeah, so it'll be on Sunday at 2:00. So if the Sox are losing, you can switch over to us and watch us. Also, just a heads up, just to close before we get to the Sugar Baggies pick of the week, we do have new merch out. Tone, do you have a picture of the shirt?
No, I don't. But next week, and on our website, we will be. On our Twitter, we will be posting pictures.
Well, I
Do
actually
you have one there ready to go? But I'll be talking about it here while you're looking here. It's a really amazing fine piece. If you're into artwork and you're into really awesome artwork, well, here it is. And you, well, that's Steve Stone, the man, the myth, the legend, right there.
by our own Keelan, from fellow Penguin Keelan, did the Enjoy the Ride photo of Steve Stone that is now available at statisticpenguins.bigcartel.com. It comes in an array of colors. Steve Stone actually, it's tweeted at somebody. It said, "Nice shirt." It's one of Keelan's brilliance, as Brian would say. So if you want to get it, pick it up on the website. Support Keelan.
Yeah, it's and honestly, I shouldn't say this, but I recently bought some shirts from all over the map, different podcasts, this and there. And honestly, and I'm not just saying it because it's ours, we have the best feeling shirts. They feel nice. The At the Draft, the Drafty Pod shirt is probably one of my favorite shirts to wear because it really feels nice. And honestly, if you want a nice shirt that feels nice, pick this up. We also have our brand new, really awesome At the Show podcast shirt here. Beautiful to see, bench warmers, not those type of movies. That's what we talk about here, So check that out too. Really, really awesome. And also coming up down the hatch this Tuesday, speaking of At the Draft, Drafty Pod, we are going to be drafting some really amazing superheroes and drafting WWE or wrestling figures, I guess you would call them, as superheroes. So that's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, they're going the Drafty Pod is doing a Marvel superheroes replaced and recast by wrestlers, which I
Yeah,
think
we
is gonna
came
be
up
pretty
with a
cool.
whole new system. It was hard to. It's like going to be like bingo, where we're going to come up with. It's going to be a whole lot of stuff. It's going to be a whole different thing. So you're going to want to tune into that on Tuesday at 8.
Cool. So be sure to check that out. And to close us out, Mr. Burt, let's get into the Sugar Baggies pick of the week.
The Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week.
All right, Mr. Horror Man. Do you know what song that kicks off and what horror movie?
No.
All right. Well, it's a Freddie Prinze Jr. movie. It is I Know What You Did Last Summer, and that is Typo Negative's cover of Summer Breeze that kicks the film off. That guitar riff right there is pretty much what starts the movie when they go over like the sea and stuff like that. And another announcement just yesterday. They are making another one. And there is talks that Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt will be back. But this soundtrack, man, is loaded. Typo Negative doing Summer Breeze. Toad the Wet Sprocket doing a Beatles cover. Hey, Bulldog. But just a lot of cool stuff. L7, Green Apple Quick Step, The Offspring doing DUI. Really deep soundtrack. I loved Our Lady Peace album, Clumsy. The title track is actually on here too. But I really enjoy this album because it's just very widespread, going from Kula Shaker doing Hush, which is an amazing cover of a Deep Purple song, and then Typo Negative doing Summer Breeze. Big fan.
Yeah, actually a good slasher film, a new addition to a slasher film at the time. Kind of going off the Scream, it was kind of like following in that trend. I do like that film, and I'm looking forward to the remake. If they're bringing back the original cast members, we kind of see how they go from there.
Well, I would feel that they've, just because of all how great Scream or the money the new Screams have made, that this was just only going to be inevitable if they wanted to come back. And Freddie Prinze Jr., he has got other stuff he's doing. It'd be just cool to see him be in a movie again.
Yep, totally cool. So good pick, my man. This is a good soundtrack too. A real good soundtrack. I haven't seen this movie in so long. That's probably why I didn't recognize the.
Just watched it actually for the first time in a long time last week, and it actually part 2 is pretty good too because Jack Black plays the Jamaican on the.
Yeah.
But Ryan Felipe does he's ridiculous, and it's just it's a good time.
Good pick. So to close us out, Tone, that was a great pick. Be sure to check out Drafty Pod on Tuesday at 8:00, and also our friends over at the Ass Cast are going to be doing a talking out our ass with Tommy Barbie, who's another funny, hilarious guy. That show is must watch as well. It's totally something you guys.
Last night's show was really good. Oh, I'm sorry that it didn't go.
Oh man, poor Sam. I felt bad for you on that one, man. I was there too, and I was just waiting because I actually had to work, and I was like, and he's like, "Oh."
I kept coming. I came back to the chat like 8 times, and he's just like, "It's gonna."
I was just watching him. Yeah, just watching him. Like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work out. StreamYard, boo. But yeah, be sure to check them out, and then check us out afterwards. And be sure to check out our stuff at sadisticpenguinstudios.com. We have some blogs coming up that are getting written right now. Tony's working on stuff at the Hookup on Music on Wednesdays. It's live. Be sure to check it out. The short show that's 30 minutes. He just did a great job with the man from Philly on Wednesday. His buddy. I really enjoyed that one. I had to watch the rewatch, but it's good to see it live and interact with those guys because they're a wealth of music knowledge. It's more of a sit and talk and shop 30-minute pod, which I love that it's short and sweet. Also,
really
look out.
Crazy too, because real quick before you go, sorry. Just it's really crazy too, because how I met him was just it was about a year and a half ago, posted about a movie, and he quoted on it, and then we've done like 3 or 4 episodes. So it's cool. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. But go on.
No. Yeah, it was a good episode. I'm always a big fan of the banter and shooting the breeze with people. Be sure to be looking out on the YouTube. I'm going to be releasing a bunch of content within the next couple of weeks. I already have a bunch of ideas. I was discussing with Tony. I took the week off this week to kind of recharge my batteries, but now I can just start pumping out as much content as I want. So be sure to check that out. If TikTok is still around, I'll post some TikToks there as well. But be sure to follow us at the Sadistic Penguin Studios on YouTube, and check us out wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate you guys listening, and we will be seeing you guys next week on Sunday at 2:00. Take it easy, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?